In front of me, we have two of the most overpowered tanks available in World of Tanks Blitz. We have the Smasher and the Annihilator. These vehicles not only feature pretty solid DPM at 2,350 and 2,650, but also pretty solid amounts of penetration. The Annihilator's got 180 on the standard, which is quite a bit better than the Smasher's 150, but it takes a reverse roll when the Smasher gets 275 mils of heat pen, where the Annihilator gets 231. To be fair, it is APCR versus heat, so it's more like 245 effective for the Annihilator, but still, the Smasher obviously has way more pen. The thing is that both of these vehicles deal insane chunks of damage. The Annihilator has 3 210 damage shots, which is able to deal 630 in a matter of 0.66 seconds. The Smasher is able to deal 640 damage when you're done aiming. Does have a decently long aiming time at 2.5 seconds, but still, it's pretty fast, especially when you take a look at the dispersion. I mean, the vehicle is just nasty. It has huge chunks of HE alpha, 960 for a pretty whopping 94 mils of pen. These vehicles, in the hands of any player that knows what they're doing, are insanely dangerous. But would it be surprising to find out that the Smasher nor the Annihilator are even close to the top performing vehicles? If we look at top 20 tanks in Tier 7 by relative win rate in Update 10.3, we can see that it's actually the T28 concept, and it's been the T28 HTC for a while. It makes sense to me why it is such a strong performer. One thing that you'll always notice about Annihilator players and Smasher players is that the average one isn't very skilled. This is what I always say, and I say time and time again. There's people out there that argue this game is, oh, it's so pay to win, Droodles. Oh my god, I can't do well because of all these premiums. I'm like, bro, really? Really? I mean, look at the highest performing vehicle. T28 concept, Forest Witch. This makes sense because it just got released. AT15A. You might be thinking, wait a sec, how is the T28 concept and AT15A the two top performers? Well, it's very simple once you think about their playstyle. A, they're pretty slow, which means you can't YOLO in and die within the first 30 seconds of the game. But even better than that, they both feature solid DPM, and most importantly, good armor. The T28 concept is just a really hard tank to pen. It doesn't matter really how skilled you are. If you're in a vehicle that does not have around 200 plus mils of premium pen in tier 7 or 6, you're not going to be able to cut through the front of a T28 concept. When you pair that with the fact the vehicle has decent gun angles, it's got very solid DPM and even good accuracy after Wargaming has buffed it so much, the T28 concept is just a 268 version 4 in tier 7. And that's why it does so well. It's literally just a 268 version 4. Same for the AT15A. It's a well-armored tier 7 that's too slow for you to kill yourself in the beginning of the game, especially as a new player. It has high levels of DPM, making it hard to fight, and again, very hard armor to penetrate. After that, we have the Pharaoh. Okay, I can somewhat see why. The Predator, that's very surprising. CS52 LIS, Tankenstein, Cheeto SPG, T29, AT7, Tiger 1, T4485, and then we get to the Smasher. Then we keep going. Some Movente Contra Car 1956, Sphere, LTG, Yag Panther, and then the Annihilator. And you might think that, like, these are skewed numbers or something like that. So we can break here into relative win rate by skill level. 0 to 45% players. Pharaoh is the #1 performer. Then the CS52 Lease. Then the Cheeto SPG, Contra Caro Mod 1956. And then the Smasher. Vehicles that wouldn't even cross your mind as the most overpowered tanks like the Pharaoh and LIS are way above the Smasher. And the Annihilator, it's I don't even see it right now. I'm looking. The Annihilator doesn't even make the list. Now, there is a slight reasoning to why the Annihilator is not making the list. And that is because Wargaming, I'm pretty sure, has created a specific matchmaker for the Annihilator, where if you play in a game with one, you will almost always fight another Annihilator. What that means is that essentially, if you're a 50% player and you're fighting another 50% player, you're both just canceling each other out in Annihilators at the end of the day. That's what it seems like happens here with a lot of those games. But how about we go to 45% to 55% players? This is mostly the player base that you'll see spending a lot of money to try and get their hands on the Annihilator and Smasher, and yet There you go. T28 concept, easily number 1. Forest Witch, AT15A. Pharaoh, Tankenstein, CS52LIS, AT7, T29, Cheeto SPG, Tiger, T4485, Contra, and there you go, the Smasher. Once again, the Annihilator does not make the list whatsoever. It's not until you make it to the 55 to 65 percenters that the Annihilator makes it smack dab in the middle. And where is the Smasher? Well, it's not anywhere up here. I see the Smasher actually below the Annihilator. So, yeah, it's kind of funny, but as we can see, unironically, the Smasher and Annihilator are really only doing well when it comes to 65% plus players in terms of overall win rate. We can see that they are ranked number 3 and number 4. But when it comes to actually average players, like 55 to 45% players and 45 to less percent players, the Smasher nor the Annihilator are even close to making it to the top of the list. They're not even close. And it's a great example of perception versus reality. There's a lot of people out there that perceive the Smasher and Annihilator as the most overpowered tanks in the game, and oh, I'm going to be able to carry every battle. But as I say time and time again, a bad player doesn't matter what tank they're driving. And this is a lesson to be learned for any of you that are watching today's video. Just because you have a big bank account and you can spend an exorbitant amount of money on this game does not mean in any world you're going to become a better player. If you shill out $140 or whatever it is to get your hands on the Annihilator this week in the draw, yes, it's an overpowered tank. I mean, if we make my way over to my Blitz account and we take a look at my Annihilator stats, yeah, obviously they're going to be pretty dang busted. But to be fair, you look at any of my tier 7 stats and they're going to be pretty dang stupid. Where the heck is my Annihilator? So here we go. My Annihilator, I'm averaging 2,850 damage with an 80% win rate. And I mean, yeah, that's actually busted. But I'm also able to go 76% win rate in a Smasher of Annihilator. Sure, the average damage isn't as high, but the win rate is only about a 3% difference. And this is not by any means an overpowered tank. It's a very fun vehicle, very, very interesting and unique playstyle, but nobody's going to sit here and tell me the Smasher of Annihilator is an overpowered vehicle, and yet I'm only going a few points lower on average win rate, and yet I've still got 80 plus games in this vehicle. It's a great example that tier 7 as a whole is very easy to manipulate. This is the Titan HND, a tier 7 German-style heavy, and it's nothing special. I mean, you can ask anybody that owns this vehicle if they've played it in the past 30 days, and they'll probably forget they even have it in their garage. It's a cool-looking vehicle, and I like that the armor moves once you get low health, but in reality, it really just doesn't do anything to help you. It's a cool tank, though, and if we make our way over to my statistics in it, I'm going 77% win rate with 2,300 average damage, which is pretty solid. Compare that to my Smasher, which I'm going 78% in with 2,500, and yeah, those stats really aren't all that different. Now, to be fair, I had the Smasher a while before I got the Titan, so I've definitely improved as a player when I had this vehicle, but still, I mean, it's still proof that the Smasher, while it is very strong, you can do just as well in any tier 7 if you understand how to play the game. Tier 7 is not a hard tier to do well in. You're playing up against either 40%ers who are just getting into the game and starting to learn how to play, or you're going up against people who think they're really good at seal clubbing, normally a bad at tier 10 player, so they go down to tier 7 to try and think they're good. Either way, you're usually not going up against the most skilled of players. You're not going to see Joker players or really, really good players, at least on the NA server, going down to tier 7 because a lot of them stay at tier 10 because it actually shows their skill. So at the end of the day, it's not hard to do well in tier 7. And sure, you might be able to throw a lot of money to get your hands on a Smasher or Annihilator, but I guarantee that a good player pulling out a T29 on the tech tree will give you a run for your money. I just wanted to make this video to showcase and prove that, again, while this game definitely has some elements that can be considered pay to win, at the end of the day, it's really down to your skill level. If you're not good at the game, buying a tank that you think is going to make you better is not the actuality. You need to learn how to get better, you need to watch tutorials, and you need to focus on what you're doing. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. I'll see you all in the next one. Bye-bye.